Welcome to Football and Now episode 63, and we've got returning guest Tom Perrett, Man United fan. How are we doing, Tom? How's things?
I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
All good, all good.
Thanks for
And
having me.
Man United have been well in the news today. There's loads of stuff going on. Bruno Fernandes is staying, but I want to focus primarily on Bryan Mbeumo leaving
Yeah,
Brentford. It looks like United is his key area. That's the team he wants to go to. But I've read this evening, in the last half an hour, the Times are reporting that he wants 250 grand a week. He's only on £50,000 a week at Brentford. I say only, Tom. It'd be a lot of money to us, but
yeah, I know.
I think he's after too much money personally. I think 250
I
grand's
agree.
ridiculous because you've been overpaying for players for how long on wages?
Yeah, I didn't actually know that to say, but I 100% agree with you because the point of it now is to move away from that sort of culture, innit? And like, that's what they're looking at players out that want to be at the club, not just be there because they're in Europe. Just looking at a different sort of structure out there, but that is a lot of money, really. He needs to be moving away from that. Because say if it did came and it didn't work, it's hard to shift those players on. You know what I mean? As we know with Casemiro and other people.
I'm not disputing what he's done, especially this past
Good player.
season. He scored 20 goals, 7 assists in the league in 38 games, which is incredible. You know, for a team like Brentford, no disrespect. You know,
Yeah.
service, they've done fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but there's a ceiling. There's a ceiling with that team, of course. Coming to you guys, and he's been doing it year on year. He's scored more this season. He's had more assists, so he seems to be improving year on year. What would you like to see from him? What do you think he bring to the team that you haven't got?
I think he'll be putting him at the right of just the rise of a white wing forward, won't he? And Kuna be on left. What I think he'll bring is a lot of strength and energy. And he'll pull defenders out of positions. It'll make more space for like an actual striker to score, if you know what I mean. And as by the setup of it, it looks like it'll be a big physical outlet going up there. It's like Kuna's a big bloke as well, isn't he? And I think Man United have been bullied a lot. If well, you look at the Europa Cup final out, the team Spurs set up against them, they get pushed about more. I think they need more physical players like him, and I think he'll have more goals. I mean, how many did he get in Brentford last year? Was it 20 from the wing or
20,
18?
20, and that's just the
And
league alone. And he's had 7 assists on top of that as well.
there's not even a number 9 properly, is there?
No,
So,
no, of course.
if you get in that, it's going to contribute with goals around you, innit? I think, Diallo will be then moved as a right wing back. So he'll be opening teams up and he'll get in like the pockets. I think he'll be a useful player. I mean, I didn't realise that the wage situation, but if he's hungry to play there and put himself in, I think he'll be a good signing ultimately. Have a bit of
Again,
luck.
that's the Times reporting that. That might not be matter
Yeah.
of fact
So,
until that is nailed down and you hear more about that.
yeah.
I take stuff with a pinch of salt, what I read
Oh,
online until it's home and hosed, of course. But it's 5 times
very
the amount
true.
of wages a week just seems crazy. I know he's done well, as I said earlier, but I just think you can't be throwing that amount of money at one player for wages. Look at Sancho, which we'll talk about after
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
You can't be spending that, can you?
No,
Surely.
you need to move on from that. I mean, the Rashford situation as well. How much is it? 340 something with add-ons. Casemiro, like I said, there's that many, and it's absurd money, especially when they're in all that debt or whatever's going on. You know what I mean? So you wonder, don't you?
How do you feel about Bruno? Obviously, the Saudi move is not happening. That's been reported today, of course, and it's been on all the news outlets officially. What your thoughts on that? Did you think he was going to stay anyway? Did you think that was pie in the sky, him going to Saudi Arabia?
I don't know about the Saudi Arabia thing, but within 10 minutes of the final, I actually text somebody, one of our friends, saying, I wonder if he'd like to move on now. He's 30, 31. He's been very loyal to Man United. And he maybe thinks in his head he could be at somebody that's in the Champions League or winning more things. You just thought maybe he's at the closing of the door, I'd accept it. But yeah, I'm happy either way what he does. I mean, I've never liked him as a number 10. I've been very open with that. But you saw him as a number 8 this year and how much effective he is with the passing and dictating the game. I think that's where his strength is. So yeah, I'm happy if he stays. I mean, he loves the club, doesn't he? And he's a professional, but also he moves on. I'd understand as well. Do you know what I mean? I think I'm trying to find it hard how I was going to fit in that system completely. It's like you're going to have Mbemo if he's coming, he's going to be right wing forward, isn't he? I'm guessing. You're on the left is Kuna, whoever's the number 9. You've got Ugarte sitting, but then you need one midfielder that's sort of controlling and breaking. It's hard for Bruno to say one position. Do you know what I mean? He likes to move about, doesn't he?
Mm.
So I don't know if he's perfect in that fit, but this season it looks outstanding in it, didn't it? So yeah, Either way, I understand.
His stats have shown that as well. You know,
Of course.
as bad as the league form had been, of course, for you guys, and we spoke about this a few weeks ago. The amount of goals and assists he had last season. You know, I think he's still got a place in that team, and you're going to be strong. You're going to be strong with these additions, with Cunha coming in, of course, and Mbeumo looking like he is coming in as well, and then maybe going in for a number 9 again. The rumour mill's rife with number 9s, and you're being linked with all sorts of players. But yeah, you're going to be strong if Bruno stays as well.
Yeah, and I think he'd be the kind of man if somebody else came in the next year or two and he had to play as a squad player. I think he's that kind of person to do it as well and help people. You need a bit of experience as well as a youth, can't you? I mean, they say, oh, you can't win out with kids as I last saw years ago, but there's still experienced players around them, weren't there? You know what I mean? You need a bit of experience, don't you?
Definitely. 100%, 100%. Also, Jadon Sancho will not be signing on for Chelsea. They've paid $5 million to send him back. Again, I think wages is going to be a sticking point. How many more loans is he going to go on? Because, he's been here, there, and everywhere throughout his career already, still relatively young. But the sticking point is the 300 grand wages that he's on at United. What do you think will happen with him now that he's coming back to you guys? Chelsea could have had, they had the option to buy for 25 million. They've not exercised that. Obviously, to cancel it, they've had to pay 5 million. Again, it's 15.6 million pound a year on wages for Jadon Sancho at 300 grand a week.
Yeah, I want him to move on. Obviously, he needs. I mean, I don't like how he's conducted himself for the club, and the post freedom when Rashford were getting games. That just I don't get it. I mean, there's so much going on in the world. I can't moan, kind of things like that. But yeah, I want him to move on. But where to? That's a good point. Because who's going to pay that kind of wages? I mean, like going back to Dortmund, they're not going to pay that kind of wages. They've always sold players, haven't they? Kept at a budget there. I mean, all the players have lost is because they won't pay them a high amount, to move on. I mean, you say Saudi Arabia, but would Sancho want to go there? You know what I mean? He's still very young, isn't he? So I honestly really don't know, and you don't want him back there, really. So you don't want, you don't want to be there as well. You're lumbered with him, aren't you? So it's just like you said with the Mbeumo, like you just said about the wages. It's you just don't want another situation like that. Because on paper, Sancho come in, and then when I think Solskjaer got him, didn't he? Looked like an excellent signing. You know what I mean? He was very highly rated, wasn't he? It looked like, and it just not worked, has it? I mean, he was quite good at Chelsea in pockets of games, wasn't he? You know what I mean? Certain bits, but yeah, it's gonna be a predicament getting rid of him, and I don't. It'd be interesting to speak about this in a year's time where he ends up because yeah, I ain't got a clue. I'll be honest.
If money was no object, I'm gonna just say, if you could go in for any number 9. Who would you go for? Who would you have? Who would Tom Perrett like to come into United as the number 9? Because it's a sticking point, of course. Højlund's been trashed in the press and what have you, and online and everywhere. Who would you have if you could have any number 9 in the world playing for Man United for next season?
I'd like to say Harry Kane, but I think he's a couple of years too old now. Do you know what I mean? I'd go for Gyökeres at Sporting Lisbon. I'd let him not have a go. Whether he comes or not, I don't know, but I'd have him. I mean, there's other people out there. I mean, I could say Erling Haaland, couldn't I? Because money's no object, but I'm being realistic, that's not going to happen as well. So I think Gyökeres, whatever he's called, I can't pronounce his name. I think he'll be a good player. And he's worked with Amrin, hasn't he?
You've still got the pull. You've got the pull of the name here because other Premier League clubs are looking at Mbeumo, aren't they? Again,
yeah.
Players still want to come to you, don't they? Amidst the no Europe next season, the stuff that's gone on, we've spoken about it various times, haven't we? People do still want to come to United. Cunha's a massive signing as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we spoke about last week, but those same people wouldn't come here anymore because they're not in Europe. We've seen this many times, haven't we, over years. People do want to go there because the media is obsessed with Man United, aren't they? I mean, they're so big all over the world. Players will come, generally, some of them might have a good attitude, but some will want to come on this new project and look like where these people that transform the new Man United. They're a big draw. I mean, I've said before with the stadium changing that they're doing it for a worldwide fan base, but it's people from all over the world going into United games, isn't there? You know what I mean? There always is. So yeah, they're always going to be a big draw. It's like even like teams like Milan and that, they've not been dominant. I've done the last with AC Milan, by the way, not Inter, but they're still big names out there in world football. They can still pull people in.
Definitely. Yeah. Anybody else you'd like in addition in that team in other positions to come in? Is there anyone that think would tick, tick the box coming in for United? Anyone
I was going to say
else?
there's a Frimpong, but we know where he's going, don't we? All gone. But
Yes.
I just think,
And
I mean, that Scott Wharton at Crystal Palace, I think he's a good centre back, for future. You could just let him in. But other than that, I'm not actually really that sure really who would be the best options to fix. What it is I'm thinking of is actual system more than anything. I'm trying to be like, logical with it
mm,
and who could actually fit in it. So I'm not actually particularly sure. But like you say, a striker for defo,
yeah,
in the right wing back, you can have one, but I
mm,
think Diallo will end up doing that anyway.
100%.
So, and that works who's just gone to Liverpool. I mean, he's supposed to be very highly rated. I mean, I hadn't heard as much about him this year, but 2 seasons ago where Leverkusen walked that league, didn't they? It was absolutely outstanding. And I don't know if you're familiar with Statman Dave and all that. His
I've heard of
YouTube
him.
channel.
I have heard of him.
I don't know if you're watching it. He's amazing. But some of the plays you see it come on there look amazing. But a lot of them I don't. You don't know much about yourself, so I can't really, say how great they are when I ain't seen them. You know what I mean? But it's interesting to see like younger players and the South American market apparently is very good as well. I mean, there's
Well,
a lot of players coming from there.
Wolves are getting so not Wolves. Forest are going for free because I'm thinking of Nuno Espirito Santo, of course. There's three Brazilians coming in into Forest for I think for 27 million. So you're saying about the South American market there. It looks like Nuno's working that market. He's looking at those Brazilian lads to come in. So yeah,
Yeah,
and
there's
just
a
getting
lot
them
of
in
them going
young.
as well to like a lot of them are going to Spanish league and Italian league now as
Mm.
well. At 18 and 19, there's a lot of options going about. And I mean, there's a Uruguayan player at South United as well, like Diego Leon. He's a left wing back, but he was actually signed on Ten Hag. But from what I've read, it apparently looks quite good. So
It's going to be interesting. I tell you what, that we're only 2 days into the market. It only
I wanted
opened.
an holiday from football. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah,
yeah,
we're straight back into it, aren't we? People are getting linked left, right, and centre. Everton as well, been linked with about 45 players since the end of the season. I take it with a pinch of salt. Absolutely, it looks like we've lost out on Liam Delap. He's going to Chelsea.
yeah.
He did come. He did come to the training ground. He met with Moyes. I know he went up to Newcastle as well, and there was a couple of others. But Chelsea's going to be his destination, of course. 12 goals, 12 league goals for Ipswich this season, which isn't bad, is it? Considering
No, no.
how bad it was for them. But yeah, for 30 million for a release clause. But he obviously fancies Chelsea the most, so that'll be interesting.
I think it's an interesting one with him, like how good he's going to become. Because I think it's controversial to say, but a lot of English players do get very hyped up, and because it's a national media, they want them to be world class and whatever. I mean, I ate my words with Joe Bellingham, didn't I? But with some art as good as what they make out. But I think if he comes to United, all the horoscope would be on him massively, and there'd be a lot of pressure on him. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I think Chelsea they can rotate the squad a bit and slowly bring him in Carter as well. It might suit him as a squad player there, but they have got a hell of a big squad, haven't they? Well, I think that's more on the wings than strikers, isn't it? So it'd be interesting. And I hope he does well. I mean, he could be a good player for England in future as well.
Definitely. He's a talent. His talent still very raw. Still very raw. But again, the amount of games that Chelsea are going to play, of course,
Yeah, of
they're going to
course.
have to rotate, aren't they? So he'll get game time. There's no question of that. I just want to move us along to a bit of nostalgia. Now, me and Chris have said for the previous few weeks, we've been doing a lot of current stuff, and off camera, I've spoke to you about this. We were going to talk about World Cup '98, which took place in France, an iconic tournament. We were a lot younger, of course. And you picked out a couple of games that you wanted to speak about. The first one being Croatia beating Germany 3-0 in a quarter final, which was quite just incredible. Croatia avenged a 2-1 loss in the quarterfinal stage at Euro 96 with this win. So, yeah, just your memories of this match, because this is one of the matches you want to talk about, and this is the nostalgic portion of football then and now.
I think Croatia was, well, obviously, there was under Yugoslavia, wasn't all the countries separated, the still are, but there was a new country back then, wasn't there? I mean, I remember, like you say, Euro 1996 was in it, but I don't think there was about much before then, really. I mean, it was like 1992 when they came about, but they had such an amazing squad. Like, there was Davor Suker, wasn't there, did well at Real Madrid. There was Prosinecki, Boban. There was Bilic, who became a manager of the Premier League, wasn't there? There was a really good spine in that team. I just remember watching it and realised how good there was. Because Euro 96 weren't bad, but Germany kind of was the benchmark around them, weren't they? I mean, they didn't win the 1994 World Cup, but because I think Bulgaria beat them, but there was always there or thereabouts, wasn't there? Such an organised team, and Croatia just absolutely destroyed them that night. And it was like I was actually in the German bar. I watched it, and the amount of people left for the 70th minute. So, I wonder why I got some looks, but yeah, I was only 13. But anyway, the amount from up left, I was just blown away by it. And you find when you were younger, I don't know about yourself, I remember games better years ago than I do now. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, definitely, 100%. It's and don't forget there wasn't as much football
No,
in live terms back then for us. I think we craved it. We did crave it, but now it's just to a penny, isn't it? I mean, you go to the match, you go to Old Trafford so much over the season yourself, but yeah, it was a spectacle, wasn't it, when the matches were on when we were younger? Because there wasn't as
oh,
much of it in a live sense.
yeah, absolutely. But it was just the way they absolutely cut them up on that day and destroyed them. I don't think Germany even expected it. And the pace of the players and the movement were fantastic. And it kind of a lot of those players then went on to bigger clubs, didn't they? You know, but Suko was. Well, a lot of them was at like Dynamo Zagreb and
Mm.
Hajduk Split, I believe, teams like that. But then they ended up in
Mm.
the Bundesliga, Premier League, and elsewhere.
You
There
had
was, uh, another striker, I believe, who played for Lazio. I can't remember his name. Juventus as well. The blonde one. They were really good at giving him a B. Sorry, I can't remember Pacific, but he was a really good striker. Yeah,
They had Igor Stimac and they had Slavisa. They had Asanovic as well, who were both playing for Derby at the time as well. And you alluded to Slaven Bilic. He was literally playing for Everton, you know, that the season
oh right,
prior to the World Cup. So we had Bilic as well. So they were all very seasoned, weren't they? And they were playing in the top leagues
oh
in Europe, weren't they, at club level?
yeah, but there was, and it's a little country, and they've done well. They've carried on, haven't they? I mean, last few years they've been knocking on door, haven't they? World Cups,
World Cup 2018,
2018, yeah.
amazing, and yeah, what a tournament that was at the old Lyon Stadium, the Stade Jalonde, which is used now for rugby. They didn't knock it down.
Oh right, okay.
Lyon obviously moved to the stadium they're in now from Euro 2016. But that stadium, the Stade Jalonde, it's in a smaller form. I think it holds 25,000 now. Rugby is still there, and concerts are held at that venue as well. So
Oh,
I was surprised. I thought it had been knocked down.
there was the famous Stade Louis II as well in Monaco, that tiny one, wasn't there? That
Yeah,
used to be always the Super Cup, was
it
there, I
did.
believe, wasn't it?
It did. Yeah. Incredible, like some of the stadiums back then, just amazing. Now, moving on to the final, Tom. Of course, France, the favourites, the hometown favourites, of course, but Brazil were, probably pre-tournament favourites to win the whole thing, weren't they?
There was, I think, around that period, obviously I wasn't around in 1870s, but like in the 90s, there was a boom period of Brazil, wasn't there? I mean, 1994, they won it. I don't know what the word it was in 1990. I think there was semi-finals, wasn't there? But Brazil, that game, they looked like an aging team, but you had the feeling they could still pull it off, didn't you? But France absolutely destroyed them, particularly Zidane that night, didn't he?
And obviously, Ronaldo, there was speculation, wasn't there? He wasn't right on the night. I know he came on later. That was all going on as well, because I can remember Des Lynam, in the studio for the BBC saying Ronaldo's not starting. Something's happened.
Yeah, I can't remember the players said, but nothing worked. None of the balls got forward, did they? And I remember like Deschamps in midfield and that they just absolutely bossed them, and it was a masterclass from Zidane that day. And I think the home thing helped France a lot as well. But there was outstanding that tournament, to be fair, France, wasn't there?
It was actually a seizure. But before the final, I'm just quoting a website here. Ronaldo reportedly experienced a seizure, which led to uncertainty and speculation about whether he would play. Despite the episode, Ronaldo did play in the final, as we've said, but Brazil lost to France again. And Marcel Desailly was sent off as well around 68 minutes, if I remember right. Yeah. But they were 2 up at that point, weren't they? Before the third goal went in. So people forget that they were actually, they were down to 10 men, France, weren't they, with like 20 odd minutes to go.
It worked to their advantage because then Brazil got them more, obviously, but that's when they caught them on that break, that third goal, didn't they? And then they just got people like Desai, like the midfielders, just sat back more, didn't they, and just kept it tight and it worked. But it was a very good tournament. In fact, I mean, the England game was a bit, the Argentina, I mean, that was a really good performance by England, that and they went out, didn't they? But in general, it was a really good tournament, I thought, that year.
with the last 16 game there that you're talking about, I flew home from Mallorca that day, so got home at night time to watch that game. But yeah, again, with Beckham getting sent off, and it still went to penalties, didn't it?
It did. I mean, the nostalgia thing for me with that was 2 days later after they got knocked out. I was in Menorca. Like I said, I was watching that Croatia game with Germany, but David Batty was on the same beach as me, and I ended up meeting him. And like the memory of that,
Yeah,
he missed the penalty, didn't he?
So what did you ask David Batty? Because obviously this is what we were centering it around. I thought we'll talk about World Cup '98 because obviously you met David Batty who played for Leeds, played for Blackburn, among others.
It was on like another beach with predominantly German people on it. So I think that's why they've gone there to get, less people recognise him. But my dad pointed out that's David Batty over there. I'm sure it is. And I looked and it was. I thought I'd go up to him, but then I felt a bit awkward because you know what's happening in his mind and that. But I just excuse to have a photo with you, David, and all that. I appreciate it. And he goes, "Oh yeah," and him and his family and kids had a photo, him and his wife. They were like friendly about it. I never mentioned anything about the game. And like he's from Batley, and he had the Leeds there, and I told him I lived in Goolage, so it was like the Yorks, you know what I mean? He had the sort of
the
connection that way, and yeah, despite being a Man U fan, before people say it. But the thing is, that was it. They were friendly enough, and his wife was in like a little. My mum was in the queue behind her just talking. She was completely oblivious. So that was David Batty's wife. Do you know what I mean? But it was the right down to earth bloke, I thought, really. Do you know what I mean? And I didn't want to make him feel awkward, but he was fine with it. He said we'll do a photo and left him like that, and he just went off with his family. So
proper hospitable with you, like.
Yeah. I think he's one of those down to earth people, innit? I mean, he shouldn't have ever took that penalty, should he, really? But it's one of them.
Absolutely. I'm just thinking back as well because we were saying we were on holiday when the tournament was on.
Yeah.
I went to a pub up the road from the hotel with Dad, and there was a swimming pool at this bar, like pub restaurant place as well. And we were watching. He wheeled out. It was like in school when they used to wheel the TV out, on the thing with the stand with the wheels. And he's brought this TV outside, the landlord, and we're all watching. I can't remember the size of the thing, but it was quite funny. Everyone was huddled around and watching on like plastic chairs. And England obviously beat Colombia that night. And I can remember, I think it was Romania in the group stage, if I'm not mistaken. We were in Alcudia town in Mallorca, and we went to a pub. Me, Dad, and a lad that I got friendly with on holiday, and his dad. And we went and watched that game as well. So, yeah, good memories, being away when the tournament was on. But an iconic tournament, if we're going to wrap up about this, it was so iconic. And, the Champs-Élysées with all the French fans, just celebrating. I can always remember that. And when they put the image of Zidane on the Champs-Élysées, I can always remember that iconic moment.
Yeah, it was like a turning point. Then they won the Euros, I believe, didn't they? 2 years later, I remember France beat Italy, didn't they? I think in the final. So yeah, it was great. And also, I remember the football game, the FIFA Road to World Cup '98. I'm not huge on FIFA games, but I always thought that was the best one. It was just it's just a legendary tournament. Yeah.
Chris was saying about that actually, about the game on PlayStation. He had great memories of it, and I can remember playing it a few times with him. So yeah, we definitely have to bring that game, because we've covered nostalgic football games, of course, on previous episodes. So we'll have to bring that one up and get you back on for that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Amazing. I'm just looking ahead. There's internationals this week as well coming up. Are you going to be watching anything, or are you just having a break? Because obviously, following Man United all year, it's always full on for you. So I know you're probably going to have a break, but I don't know if you'll be looking out at the internationals later this week.
No, I'll be watching ITV News and Weather instead, I think. But no, I don't know. I'll probably just watch the highlights, mate. You know what I mean? I don't actually know who's playing, to be fair.
Wales have got Belgium in a qualifier.
Right.
And England have got Andorra, because they're out in Spain at the moment. They were at the Formula One the other day. So they're based in Spain, but they're obviously playing Andorra later on in the week, so they should hammer them.
Yeah, I won't bullshit about for that match.
I thought that'd be your answer. I
think I'd rather watch X Factor instead, Jesus.
No, surely not. No, you got to be kidding me. So
the Nations League. I get why they've done it. It's to get rid of boring friendlies and that.
Yeah.
But it's when it's timed. It comes at the end of the season or midway. And I don't think the games mean a hell of a lot, do they? But I get like, for some teams that are struggling, they're playing each other, they can get points to help them to get in the tournament. I don't want to mention certain countries because, I don't want to upset whoever viewers. But for some, for example, just say San Marino versus Faroe Islands, there's got to be a winner, hasn't there, or somebody gets the result. So they're getting points where they wouldn't normally get them. So I get that purpose of it. But I don't really, you don't really remember much of the games here, to be honest, with National Leagues. That's all.
That's it. That's it. We've got the semi-finals of the Nations League as well. Germany, Portugal on tomorrow night, actually 8 p.m. from the Allianz Arena, and then on Thursday evening we've got the second semi-final, which is Spain versus France. So big tussles in them
good
two.
games then. Yeah.
And then the finals on ITV. I know ITV have got coverage of it at 8 p.m. on Sunday. The semi-final losers play at 2 o'clock on Sunday as well out of those two games. So that's going on as well. Just wanted to shed a little bit of light on the internationals, but we know everyone just wants a little bit of a breather. And we've got the Club World Cup starting as well. That's coming up. So there's just football all year round now, isn't there?
Yeah, you can't really escape it, really. You know what I mean? Like you said, there's so much of it now, isn't there? But it's something to watch, isn't it? I understand. So
definitely.
The players. It's good to say players playing for the countries and representing them in it. So
definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing how Craig Bellamy gets on against Belgium. He's had a solid start as Wales manager, of course. He's had a decent start, so we look forward to that one later on in the week. And just thank you so much for coming on again, Tom. Your third appearance on Football Then and Now, of course. And we'll be back next week. Chris will be back as well. Work commitments this evening, so he couldn't be on with us. But we'll see you all very, very soon for episode 64. And thank you to the Sports Social Podcast Network, who cover our content as well. I've just got to get that in before we go. If you've got a podcast and you're not affiliated with anyone, these guys will have you on board. If you've got a sport-related podcast, of course, they cover all your fees for listening, so you can list as many episodes as you want. That's no cost to you. You put the adverts into your episodes, and that covers you. They're fantastic. They repost our clips. They put clips up of our show as well. That I've had up. So they're great. They've been fantastic. So thank you to them. Thanks to the Sports Social Podcast Network, Europe's largest sports social podcast network. 550 podcasts and counting, getting close to 600, I would imagine. So thank you to them. Tom, again, thank you so much, mate. And we'll have you on before the start of the Premier League season, I'm sure. And all the best. And I hope these signings